The time is just gone 8:27 a.m. If you have just tuned in, we welcome you to the show. Our listeners, our viewers on social media, and we wish to remind you that our interviews, some of our interviews are actually going live on our YouTube channel and also on our Facebook channel, so you can view these interviews. Now, this has become quite a common phenomenon in terms of scamsters, in terms of fraudsters within the Muslim community. And over the last few years, we've seen so much, whether it's been Hajj related, investment, people offering holiday packages. Last week, we spoke about a scamster who had basically conned people of millions of rands and walking around free with a 20,000 rand fine or a 3-year jail system. And this morning, we're talking about Hajj scammer. We're talking about a notorious veteran Hajj crook and fraudster Shaheed Stakala. And unpacking this, we're joined by television talk show host. We're joined by Faisal Sayed out of Cape Town. Faisal, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh and welcome.
Walaikum salam, Inayat, and thank you for having me this morning on this particular matter.
Yes, Faisal, we've got a very gullible, we've got an unsuspecting public that falls prey to many a scammer. And it is said that within the Muslim community, we've got these type of scammers who have been conning people out of millions of rands. And here we're talking about an institution like Hajj. We're talking about Shahid Stakala. We're talking about the money that he has scammed people. Just a quick background to Shahid Stakala and why it is so important for us to be discussing this.
Thank you, Inayat. That's a very important question. And why I say it's a very important question is that I think sometimes we take for granted that we're working on these matters so long and that we've done so much in the press about it. However, we still find today that people are being scammed, that they're being pulled in, and they're propagating fake news related to his case. So I think it's a very important question so that we just provide some background. So 2013, 2014, the matter starts coming up with a host of Cape Townians, if not one or two national people giving Shaheed Stakala money. He then vanishes. This goes to court. The matter, in summary, goes into a civil matter, and from that point onwards, the sustainability of the cases become problematic for victims that have already been robbed. However, we know that sometimes South African law might have a prescription on these type of issues, but in the Deen of Islam, we know that we don't have a prescription on this type of debt, especially if we've taken money for people's Hajj and Umrah. The saddest part right now in Ayat is, and why the matter is thrust back up into the space, is because Shaheed Stakala had purported to walk for Hajj, which you'll probably discuss with me shortly, but it arrived on Arafah over the weekend, bragging that he's there for 22 times, he's going to be there for 23 times, and no one's going to be able to stop him. And currently, right now, his victims feel highly aggrieved by such statements, saying that you've taken our parents' Hajj, our Hajj, the sick and the elderly. Many of them have passed away. So how dare you stand on Arafah saying that you made it to Arafah? So this has become a bone of contention.
Well, it certainly is. And, talking about walking for Hajj, and this is where the problem comes in as well, where people have actually been duped into giving him money for the mere fact that he has been walking for Hajj. And during the Hajj broadcast, we spoke to Adam Mohammed out of the UK. Now, this is the man who actually walked for Hajj. He walked 11 months. And, I asked him, and he says,
Amazing.
along the way, obviously people had sponsored him, but there was evidence, there was proof that the man had actually done the trip walking for Hajj. Now, Shahid Stakala, again, here we're talking about a crook, we're talking about a scamster, we're talking about a fraudster, and sadly, people have been duped by these ambitions that he's had about walking to Hajj.
Correct. So the fundamental problem that I have and many have with this issue, especially his victims, is how is it that and I don't know. There's a word that I'm looking for, but I think the word probably doesn't even exist. But it is one of absolute confusion in the mind to think that if you've gone with a reputation as a Hajj crook, having scammed many people with no remorse, laughing at your victims, how do you then extract yourself out of that situation in your home country of South Africa and then go internationally, place yourself on an international platform, telling the world that you are a Hajj hero. How do you package a deal that goes from scamster presenting yourself as a hero within the same space? I don't know if you could see the complete dichotomous, confusing, obnoxious, and impetuous thought that might enter your mind at that stage. It's absolutely ridiculous. And this is a big issue. How do you present yourself as that? Then, if you remember last year, we had a problem with, I think it was last year, where he had wormed his way into the Prime Minister of Palestine's office. And they then called us to ask us for some background, but then it was too late. He had already met with them and he had fooled many people in Jerusalem, of which reports have been sent to us by journalists in Jerusalem. And then also of late, people have been issuing their reports in the last couple of days to me, where he's been soliciting funds on social media for this purported walking Hajj. I don't know if you want to go onto the aspect of the walking Hajj, but United, I just came off a 12-hour flight from Istanbul directly to Cape Town, almost 12 hours. I couldn't manage the 12-hour flight, so I'm not certain who would walk across this continent.
Yes, Faisal, what's this about the $500,000 that he's been asking for to appear on the show to
Yes,
talk to the victims?
yes. So in 2015 or 2016, when my show, The Faisal Sayed Show, contacted him, he demanded 150,000 Rand appearance fee to speak to his own victims. So to be a guest on the show, he requested 150,000 Rand. Last week, when we were in touch with him, he demanded 500,000 Rand, saying that if we provide him 500,000 Rand, he will come on as a guest on my show and he'll address his victims.
But what is he going
I
to address his victims about?
that's the interesting thing where we don't know. So what he's planning to say, I'm not sure. But we've been making calls to him saying that is it not right that if a Muslim has aggrieved another Muslim, we might not be able to settle the debt, but is it not right to sit face to face with them, especially before going on Arafah? And Inayat, I don't know if you know the Cape community, especially is very traditional before they go for Hajj. You'll notice they visit each other, they go ask for maaf and for forgiveness. I'm going on Arafah because if you stand on Arafah wanting to become as cleansed as a newborn baby, that is not going to happen if you do not have the forgiveness of the people that you've aggrieved. So, so we've been requesting that he comes to the table and addresses the people that are very aggrieved, but he refuses to do that. In actual fact, we've got reports from victims that has made contact that he has laughed at, saying that he is now exonerated.
Well, tomorrow, in fact, I have been informed by my producer that we will be talking to some of the victims on the show
Yes,
tomorrow, inshallah. So I certainly am
correct.
looking forward to the victims and just to understand, what they've been through and what their side of the story has been. But again, Faisal, as media and you being a TV show host as well, and also with ourselves here at Salam Media, we have a responsibility to warn an unsuspecting and a gullible public with these type of scams because this is becoming once too often, Faisal, and it's not acceptable.
Correct, yes. So, Inayat, in the past, my mom always used to tell me this. And by the way, I must state this for you. There's a host of people, a very small host of people, that promote Stakala on social media. And they've asked and they've made requests last week to me to stop this war on Hajj crooks. And I blatantly declined that, saying it will not stop until the perpetration stops. However, I must say to you that he goes as far, and I don't want to bring personal issues because it's not personal, but I just want to indicate to you the tactics that people will use to stop us as media from doing what we do. He will use the grave of my mother, pictures of my mother's grave, pictures of my mother, put photos of, and everyone knows how I feel about my mother's loss. Everybody knows it. It's common knowledge by now, and they will take Satanist photos and Satanist symbols and place it on her grave and post that pictures on social media. This is an effort to stop me, but I must state, we in media, as you mentioned earlier on, we have an activistic role, and that's to bring about reform in the work that we do through media. So that will never hold us back. So I just wanted to put that out there that that will never stop me because my mother taught me justice.
Well, certainly, Faisal, and it's all about haq, it's about the truth, it's about justice, and at the end of the day, we have a duty to speak out, and this is not about being sensationalists. At the end of the day, it's about haqq and truth, and this is what Islam also demands of us. When whether we in the media space or we're not in the media space. But for now, Faisal, Jazakallah so much for coming on. I know you've just arrived from Turkey. You're still looking very tired, I'm
It's a
sure,
pleasure.
jet lag and the like. But inshallah,
Thank you.
at some point in time, we will touch base again. But for now, all the best to you. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Walaikum salam, Inayat. And I just want to say to you that thank you for joining the force as Salam Media in taking a stance against these issues in protection of the Hujjaj.
I mean, Jazakallah for that. Faisal Sayed joining us this morning about alleged walking Hajj scammer, notorious veteran Hajj crook and fraudster. We're talking about Shaheed Stakala. The time is just gone 8:38 a.m. We're going to go for a quick break. We come back. We're talking about UN fears about gang violence in Haiti.